The next big fight in Washington will likely be over the debt ceiling. Tonight, Washington Democrats say President Barack Obama should consider invoking a little-known constitutional provision to sidestep Republicans' demands for major spending cuts as a condition to raising the debt ceiling. But what provision are they talking about, and does it really apply here? Ben has the reality check you won't see anywhere else.
21 Democrats have sent a letter to President Obama telling him to not bother fighting with House Republicans over the debt ceiling. Instead, they say he should just use any authority to prevent the nation from going into default. That authority, they say, comes from the 14th Amendment, added after the Civil War. It states the validity of the public debt of the United States shall not be questioned. Most Americans learned in 2011 the federal borrowing limit is subject to congressional approval. But some, including former President Bill Clinton, insist that the president has constitutional authority, in fact, the duty to act without Congress. But does he? Yes, the 14th Amendment says the validity of the public debt of the United States shall not be questioned, but it does not say the chief executive has the power to prevent that from happening. On the other hand, Article 1 of the Constitution specifically gives the authority to borrow money to Congress alone. Of course, this claim that the president must unilaterally raise the borrowing limit falls flat when you acknowledge that the debt ceiling does not force the nation to default on public debt. The president can avoid default by spending less. The Bipartisan Policy Center estimates that the Treasury will receive $277 billion in tax revenue between February 15th and March 15th of this year. It will owe $451 billion in spending commitments, much of which are tax refunds. So, just in the first month, there's $174 billion in bills that the Treasury would not be able to pay. Interest on debt is $38 billion. Tax refunds, $86 billion. Medicare and Medicaid, $73 billion. Social Security, $61 billion. Military pay, $13 billion. Unemployment benefits, $6 billion. Defense vendor payments, $29 billion. Veterans benefits, $4 billion. Federal salaries and benefits, $20 billion. Department of Education, $17 billion. Food stamps, $10 billion. And federal courts, Department of Energy, air traffic control, road construction, another $67 billion. It is true that not raising the debt ceiling means pain, but it absolutely does not mean default on U.S. debt payments. It does mean prioritizing payments. But what this means for you is that if the president, not just this president, but any president, can borrow and increase spending without congressional approval, it's just one more example of checks and balances disappearing in Washington. Look, this isn't a party issue. It's an issue of separation of powers. That separation of powers given to us by the founders was put there for a reason, and that is Reality Check.
It's a lot of money, Ben. You can find the sources for the story posted on our website, fox19.com, and if you'd like to make your voice heard, head over to Ben's Facebook page. Find it right there by searching Ben Swann.